This is for Andrea and for anybody else who's watching. Imagine that you have an idea for something you'd like to tell the world. How do you tell them? In such a way that they'll listen. It's every educator's question. How do I connect with the people I communicate with? And how do I communicate in such a way that what I have to say gets across the gap between me and them? Well, some years ago, I decided that I would write things down on something called a website and allow people to access the website if they gave me their email address. I thought it was a fair trade. I then proceeded through what's now known as social media, a platform called Facebook, to inform the world of several hundred people in my network that this website existed and that they could, for the price of their email address, access the wisdom of a teacher who was trained as a coach. At the time, I was also chapter host for the ICF chapter in Gothenburg. And with that authority, I wrote what an educator could take from the ICF Core Skills into their classroom. I thought this was a good idea. I thought this was a very good way of communicating with my chosen audience, teachers. I had several hundred people in my email list as well. Some of them were also friends on Facebook. A total of, let's say 500, maybe 1,000 over the years. That's how many people I've told about this wonderful website. Some people came back to me and said it was very interesting, it was very useful, but that was about it. There wasn't a two-way communication. So how do I generate more contact to Martin? I mean, I wanted to have contact with people that I was communicating with. Just speaking at them wasn't enough. I wanted to have feedback, I wanted to have their input, their questions. I wanted to move forwards. At some point, somebody praised me for my wonderful speaking voice. I am an Englishman, and somehow that's a good thing in this country of Sweden, where I have spent the past 30 years. So I recorded my voice, didn't I? Like I'm doing now, didn't I? Well, not exactly like this, an ancient technique. I don't think it was a cassette recorder, but it was very much simpler recording than I'm doing now. I used a program on my computer to convert my voice into digital zeros and ones, and then use, I think it was YouTube? No, it wouldn't have been YouTube, we're not there yet. To put my message up on the website, an audio file on the website, thus decorating and embellishing and improving, I thought, my website. The number of people attracted to that was also very small. Of the 500, maybe 1,000 people that knew about it, I think I had contact from 20, 25, I'm thinking how they repeat, but maybe 25 people. Maybe 25 contacts from 20 people. So that website languished in obscurity, as do many thousands of others, but I still wanted to reach out to my audience of teachers and say, hey, I have something to tell you about coaching, and I have the authority of the ICF and all the rest of it. And I realized after a while, through my first book, that writing a book and having your ideas in book form was actually more effective than having them on a website. Lesson learned. Websites are a great place to hide things. Books, on the other hand, I was giving them to people face to face. And this time the trade, if one could call it that, was I'll give you my book if you give me some feedback. If you like it, write about it on Amazon. And if you don't like it, if you think it could be different, you talk to me. I got some feedback from that first book. So with the success of the first book, by which I have become known all over the world, that particular first book is now being published in Turkey, in Turkish. I don't even speak Turkish. And yet there's an audience ready and waiting. I find that fascinating. So back to the book that I'm writing with Andrea. I realized that the ICF website needed to be put into book form. So I pulled all of the texts into a book. And it got to about 50 pages. Not bad, but pretty thin. I thought, I'll have to pick that up again. And yet going back to the ICF, and the time I was chapter host, and thinking again about how could coaching impact teaching, I realized I'd moved on. I needed someone who was newer, fresher, more excited about the ICF, more excited about coaching's impact on teaching in the classroom and the staff room. Who would be in a position to do that? Obviously, a person who's worked as a teacher, and preferably a head teacher, for 10, 20 years. So, as I often do with my requests, I sent it out to the universe. Some people call that prayer. And I asked for an experienced teacher or head teacher who's a novice coach, who wants to talk about the impact that coaching can have on the education system with real examples. 3 days later, 3 days. The universe is very slow sometimes. Ooh, no, I really mean the universe is astonishingly quick. There must have been a conversation somewhere that led to Andrea writing an email. The email said, basically, I'm interested in collaborating. I'm a head teacher, I'm a teacher, many years experience, and I'm a new coach. Not even certified yet. It was like a dream come true. Well, of course I was going to have a conversation with this person. Of course I was going to. I had a project ready and waiting. So, Andrea, you know how this went. You received a half-finished book, 50 pages of basically blog entries. And you have been working on this for 3 weeks now, 4 weeks. At the same time as you've been moving and setting up your own business and getting a certification and everything else that's involved in starting a business, you've also been writing. And I am so looking forward to reading your real life examples of how coaching impacts teachers, students. Because this book, this one's going to make a difference. This time, I have rather more people in my network. I still have 1,000 on Facebook, but I've opened up a LinkedIn account. Yes, I have. LinkedIn is a little more professional. But I have 4,000 contacts there. And I am known in that network for being a coach, not an instructional coach, but a coach who works in education. And I have been hinting at the next big piece of work that I'm going to produce. And it's called the ICF Core Skills for Educators. And it's written by Martin Richards and Andrea Robson. And it's going to be available on Amazon before Christmas.